LeBron's options are enormous. He can do what he wants to do. Okay. He's the man. There's no question about it. He's been listening. His agent, Rich Paul, has been listening. Brian Windhorst has accurately reported, along with Chris Broussard, both doing outstanding jobs. They both accurately reported how, essentially, LeBron is going to leave things to Rich Paul. Rich Paul has talked to Dallas. He's talked to L.A. He's talked to Phoenix. He's talked to Cleveland. He's talked to, you got Houston that wants to be on the radar, the list goes on. And essentially, it's LeBron James' pick of the litter, because no matter who anybody else wants, if LeBron says, I want you, they'll throw everybody aside to get their hands on LeBron James. So let's understand that. Now, as we look at this particular situation, one of the things that I think that has been a misnomer, Skip, is that everybody has been pointing to how LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony have been holding up the process, because LeBron is #1, Carmelo's #2 on the hit list, and they've been holding up the process. Right. I dare say I believe Chris Bosh has been holding it up. And the reason I believe Chris Bosh has been holding it up is because he opted out of the 2 years, $42 million owed to him over the next 2 seasons. He opted out, just like Dwayne Wade did. We all know that Dwayne Wade, in all likelihood, isn't going anywhere. He's going to retire Miami Heat. That's what Pat Riley and the Miami Heat organization wants. Even though they want to keep Chris Bosh, it doesn't mean that they're willing to give him what he can get elsewhere. So you have Houston now, who's had Chris Bosh on their radar for the longest. Everybody's been talking about Melo. Of course they want Melo. But they don't believe they've got much of a shot at getting Melo. They believe they have a better shot at getting Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh understands that even though he would prefer to be in Miami and remain in Miami, because he and his wife both love South Beach, in the end, if Houston comes with $90 to $96 million and Miami ain't trying to do that, Chris Bosh is going to leave for Houston. If that happens before LeBron makes his decision, then all of a sudden, you're Pat Riley. You don't have to worry about appeasing the big three. You've already worked something out with D-Wade, and it's about keeping LeBron James. So all you have to do is go out and get somebody else. And that somebody else, their attempt would be Carmelo. Sure. Because as I've reported on many occasions, Melo and LeBron would like to play together. It has to be ideal. They want their money and all of this other stuff. But they would love to play together, okay? You're Carmelo Anthony, all right? The New York Knicks are #1 on your list. At the same time, the Lakers were incredibly impressive because they appealed not just to Carmelo, but to Lala Anthony because of her Hollywood aspirations. Got the director Joel Silver, a season ticket holder, along with Tobey Maguire doing the voiceover. It was incredibly special, and the Lakers have their act together in terms of their presentation. They've wowed Rich Paul with LeBron James. They've wowed Carmelo Anthony and his camp with Bay Frazier and all of those boys. It's impressive. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. To me, Chris Bosh is the X factor, because if Chris Bosh elects to stay and the health of Dwayne Wade is still questionable, there's but so much Pat Riley can do, because he already lost out on Martin Gortat, lost out on Kyle Lowry. You were hoping to get one of those guys. They re-signed with their respective teams in Washington and Toronto. So what can you do? In the end, you haven't been doing much, which elevates the possibilities of LeBron James ultimately leaving. But if Chris Bosh were to leave, and then you talk about adding Melo, now that changes things in my estimation.
Chris Bosh has always been the third wheel. In the last 3 games of this past NBA Finals, wouldn't you say Chris came up pretty small by Chris's standards?
Yes, he did.
He disappeared completely in those 3 games.
Yes, he did.
Who's to say that Pat Riley's way out of this mess, the quickest fix, is to quietly make it clear to Chris Bosh, you know, Chris, you should go get the money while the money is good. And if I'm Chris Bosh, I'm thinking along these same lines, because if I have a chance at age, what's Chris? He's 30, just turned 30, okay? Let's say Chris Bosh is thinking, I got my 2 rings, courtesy of, and I contributed some on my part, but courtesy of LeBron and Dwayne Wade. I got my 2. I'm 30. I can go back to my home state in which there are no income taxes. I can go to Houston, who is obviously not a favorite, but a contender in the West. And if I join, he would help them immensely to join Dwight and Harden. And I assume Chandler Parsons will still be there. I don't know that for a fact.
We don't know that yet. Cleveland and Dallas are coming after Chandler Parsons in the event they can't get
so
one of them
why
marquee
wouldn't
guys.
Chris see the handwriting on today's wall and say, wait a second, I'm out. I'm not chasing Michael Jordan here. I don't need 5 or 6 rings. I got my 2. Why wouldn't he get that 4-year, $96 million max? He could get that from the Rockets right now.
From the Rockets.
Okay, at age 30, that's pretty good money.
Yeah.
4 years, $96 million.
Well,
and again, does Chris want to play more than 4 more years? I doubt it.
Yes, he does.
You think
he's
so?
only 30. He definitely
I don't
wants
know.
to play.
I don't know. He's made noise about not wanting to play that much longer.
He definitely wants to play past the age of 34.
All right.
I would say that. But the other thing, well, you're absolutely right on the money, because that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
The Miami Heat are not going to announce that they don't really want Chris Bosh back. Chris Bosh is a good player. And it's not that they don't want him. He's just not the priority. Okay? And because he's not the priority, while also simultaneously being a priority for the Houston Rockets, clearly you're going to be in a position to get money from Houston that you ain't going to get from Miami.
Okay.
And so as a result of that, that's where everything, that's why I keep saying Chris Bosh is the guy. Because everybody's talking about LeBron or Melo. But if Chris Bosh makes a move before LeBron makes his decision, then it changes everything.
Yeah, sure.
It changes everything. And that's why the timing, that's why everybody, all right, so what? LeBron's meet with Pat Riley. Well, LeBron and his meetings are an incredibly big deal because the timing of his decision is going to dictate so much. If he waits and Chris Bosh doesn't, it changes everything for the better for Miami. But if you have to make a decision today if you're LeBron James, that's to the disadvantage of the Miami Heat.